Before we get into the episode, I just wanted to say a lot of you guys are watching, but you're not subscribing if you're on YouTube. And a lot of you guys are listening, but you're not following and rating. What? Who even does that? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Homebody Chronicles. I hope you're all doing well. I hope if you're in a cold country that you're staying warm. I've been staying warm, trying to stay healthy, trying to get some exercise in. But yeah, I hope you guys are all well. I hope you guys enjoyed last week's episode. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to record, so I hope you guys could feel the energy through your screens or your phones or whatever you listen to us on. Before we get into the episode, I just wanted to say a lot of you guys are watching, but you're not subscribing if you're on YouTube. And a lot of you guys are listening, but you're not following and rating. What? Who even does that? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, if you enjoy what you've been hearing, if you enjoy the podcast in general, leave us a like on YouTube, subscribe to us on YouTube, leave a comment. If you're on Spotify, rate us a 5, leave us a comment. If you're on Apple Podcasts, I always forget about Apple Podcasts, but if you're on Apple Podcasts, rate us a 5. And I'm saying us because, like I said in the first episode, this is not my podcast, but this is for us. But yeah, let's get into today's episode. So, I just want to start off by saying so the way I organize episodes, I pretty much have a whole list of topics that I want to cover, and I kind of wait and feel things out and figure out the vibe figure out when I want to post or when I want to actually record a topic. And this one has been kind of at the back of my mind for a long time. It's something that I've wanted to talk about on here for a while. It's something that I talk about in my day-to-day life. But it's a little bit tricky to talk about just because I feel like it can be people can have a lot of opinions on it, and I don't ever want to be misunderstood, or I don't want to ever do anything that, I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to be misunderstood, but I don't want it to be taken the wrong way, basically. But yeah, so yeah, I was hesitant to talk about this at first, because of what I just explained, and then also I'm nowhere near where I want to be and where I can be in terms of discipline and consistency in my day-to-day habits and goals and whatnot, and achieving, I guess, in my day-to-day habits to achieve my goals. And especially this past week, I was going through it. A lot of things fell through the cracks for me. And I really had to push through and really faith it till I made it, let's say. But yeah, it was a challenge to kind of push through and keep up with my routines this week, but I made it. Here I am. It's a new week, and we're just gonna keep going. And also, I'm recording this now, ironically, because I wanted to challenge myself, because in my mind, I was like, "Ugh, girl, you can't talk about this right now because look at this past week." And then I was like, you know what? No. Let's rearrange the narrative. I am going to talk about this because whether I had a good week or a bad week, it's still true. And it's still something to think about and to discuss. Anyways, so yeah, so today we're going to be talking about the soft life, quote unquote. My difficulties with it, and just the overall danger of chasing comfort, or always chasing comfort, is what I'll say. So For anyone who's not familiar with the term soft life, it's pretty much self-explanatory, but I'll give you a definition. So soft life, this is not my definition, by the way. I literally did a Google search of definition of soft life, and this came up. But the soft life refers to a lifestyle of comfort and relaxation with minimal challenges or stress. Some people use the term in reference to a life that involves and is a product of wealth and luxury, while others interpret it as simply being a simplified life, of simply having, I guess that's a mistake, having a simplified life unburdened from stress and responsibilities. So yeah, that's the quick definition of soft life that I found. And yeah, I'm going to start off with a little, I guess, anecdote, or it's not an anecdote, it's a real story. It's a true story about me. And kind of how I've shaped my mind around life and achieving things and just challenging myself. But yeah, basically when I was young, I had like a call or a revelation, I don't know, epiphany, whatever you want to call it, on just doing the hard things. And I won't say that my life was like I had it rough and like we were in the trenches, but I mean, it also wasn't like I wasn't fed with a silver spoon either. But I often would observe like other people around me my age, and I saw how, and I felt how doing hard things felt like the end of the world. Like challenges that came up in our day-to-day would really throw a lot of people through a loop. I don't even know what that phrase is, but people would have a hard time with hard things, which is a given, right? But then I kind of just thought to myself, like, let's say I was in grade 5, and there was a test coming up, and like I knew this test was going to be really difficult. I knew the test was going to be difficult, but I knew it wasn't going to be impossible, because I needed to pass this test in order to get out of grade 5, So I just kind of realized that hard things are not impossible things. And most things that are easy and most things that come to us with no challenge are typically things that A, go away just as quick as they came, or B, they're things that aren't worth having. And that's when I kind of realized, like, for me personally, I slowly but surely started chasing the hard things. And it's not something easy. Like it's definitely something where you have to like wrap your head around it. At first, you kind of do it out of necessity, and then the more challenge that you introduce to your life, you get to a point where you start chasing the challenge. And for me currently, and I think this is I don't know if this is a thing of nature or nurture, but I do find myself chasing hard things and chasing challenge. Being comfortable and being like coasting really gets me in a bad place. And I'll talk about that more. But yeah, basically if I think back to that experience or like revelation, as I said, to now, I'm currently at a point in my life where I'm at the optimal health time wise. There's so many things in my life where I'm at the optimum time to be working hard. And for me to just waste that, it just makes no sense for me. And I'm not trying to like other myself from other people my age, but I really struggle with a lot of people who want things handed to them, or even if they do have things handed to them. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. Like I don't think that having things handed to you is inherently bad, but it's like, what are you doing with those things? I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, in your late teens, mid to late 20s, even 30s and 40s, I mean, I can't speak for 30s and 40s yet, so let me just say 20s. Um, we're at an optimal time to be working hard. And by working hard, I mean physically, financially, emotionally. There's so many things that we can be doing instead of just chasing comfort, you know? And like as we talked about in the idleness episode, there's so much at our disposal that it just blows my mind when I see people complain, and it's like, but you have so much that you can be doing instead. And again, there's balance. There are people who are going through real life situations where they are just doing the best that they can with the cards that life dealt them, but it's just, I'm not talking about those people, and I'm not talking about other people. I'm including myself in this too. Like, we really have to rethink like the way we view challenge. And I feel like, I won't say our generation, but the world in general, like we're just constantly chasing comfort and relaxation, which aren't bad things. I'm not saying that you should live a life that isn't comfortable and you shouldn't relax, but it's like people will go to the greatest of lengths to chase comfort and to chase like leisure and idleness, essentially. And I found personally that I'm almost wired in a way where things that I achieve, whether it was in school or anything like that I've been through, they don't come easily to me. Like I'm always that person that'll fail the test 2, 3, 4 times. I'm always that person that doesn't get the job on the first interview. Like, that's just the way my life has gone. I'll never say, I do believe I'm intelligent. I have been successful and I have gotten there, but I'm just not the person to get things on my first try. I'm not the person to be naturally good at things. Like, I have to work my butt off to be good at anything. And I think that's one of the reasons why I have a hard time with like people who just want to live on easy street. I don't know. But I just feel like there's so much value in like challenge. And a lot of times I meet a lot of talented people and I don't think I'm talented in a lot of areas. And this is not me like putting myself down. Even if I am talented in an area, I know the value that comes from working hard on said things and like developing discipline and figuring out how I can improve whatever that thing or talent is. So yeah, enough about me, but let's talk about soft life in general. But I really wanted to get into the main point of this episode is just to talk about how it's a bit contradicting, at least what we perceive as soft life, quote unquote. You see a lot of people, spending time on yachts and wearing like designer, and like there's like the whole quiet luxury trend, which again are all not inherently bad things, but like the idea of soft life and getting those things just don't match up to me. Like somebody or someone or you had to have worked in order to get those things. And I know there's people like, oh yeah, you can make money in your sleep, you can do XYZ, but those types of things to achieve true soft life or true real luxury, those type of things, they don't happen overnight, and there is a level of work involved. And so that's why I just wanted to talk about the contradiction. Now at the same time, I do believe that I do believe in striving towards a lifestyle of abundance, flexibility, freedom, which to some people might look like a soft life, quote unquote. But the struggle that I myself and I think a lot of other people have is, like I said, the depiction of what it is. Like the aesthetics of whatever soft life is to you. Because I know that's the other thing that we can get into. It's the fact that soft life can be different for everyone. But when I talk about the soft life, I'm talking about the trendy Instagram feed vibe of, you know, quiet luxury and living and looking like you don't have a care in the world, which is never real, you know? So to put it all into like shorter phrases, it's essentially surface level. It's materialistic, and like I mentioned earlier, is danger in constantly or only chasing comfort, and staying within your comfort zone, I should say. And one of those is just simply missing out on your opportunity for growth. Back to like my grade 5 example, there's always going to be stress or a challenge when it comes to growth, and that's just rules of nature. Like, that's how things work. If you fall, scrape your knee, you're gonna get a scab, but where you get the scab, it's gonna be healed, probably even with a callus that's tougher than the rest of your leg where you didn't get a scrape, you know? And so this is a quote from an article by Ryan A. Bush, published in Designing the Mind. There is an air of novelty and opportunity without the alien feeling we had at first. And this is talking about growth and how chasing comfort makes you miss out on that growth. The new people who seemed so distant at first are exciting now. Spontaneity takes the place of routine, and we start to see ourselves in a new light too. So he basically was talking about how at first that step or that leap of faith or whatever is always going to be difficult. It's always going to be hard. There's always going to be a level of discomfort. But after a while, once you embrace that feeling of new and that feeling of stress or that feeling of challenge, eventually those things become second nature to you. It's kind of like when you're running, like whether you're a runner or not, like at first, like that initial couple minutes, it might seem, you know, like you might feel like you're going at a steady pace, and then there kind of comes like I don't want to say climax, but I guess it is a kind of like a climax where you start to feel that stress. But if you just push through that little pocket of challenge, there's like on the other side, there's like a feeling of, I don't know what the word is, but I've heard some people call it disassociation, where you are almost like numb and like in this flow. And I think that goes for anything like challenging that you do. There's a level of discomfort, and then eventually you kind of find your flow, and then once you find your flow, you stay there for a little while, and then you chase the next level of discomfort, and that's just literally how you grow. The process can really be distressing, but you're building strength in the areas where you had previous reinforcements, or you had previous crutches or previous like scaffolding holding you up. So now you can run for longer, or now you can run faster, you know, and that goes for other things in life other than just running. So that's one benefit to leaving your comfort zone, and one benefit to not chasing comfort, or not only chasing comfort. And like similarly to the second point is similar to the first point, where there's no risk, there's no reward. And there's this idea of like being comfortable is where it's safe. And yes, it does feel safe. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't ever feel safe. That's a different story. But in terms of in your own mind, there's a level of risk that you need to take in order to see reward. And like there's no really other way to explain it, other than the fact that, or everything you have currently in this moment is limited. But if you were to just open yourself up a little bit to whatever risk, and I'm not talking about major risk, like I'm just talking about like self-growth type of risk, it's beneficial to just open up and realize that there's more out there. Like, as people say, as corny as it sounds, the sky is the limit. And if you are constantly just closed off and you're in your little bubble of no risk, then there'll be no reward. And I want to see you all rewarded. Okay? Okay. Yeah, and also another thing about comfort zones is that your comfort zone can be bigger. When you don't challenge yourself, you keep your comfort zone small. And when you challenge yourself, you're growing your comfort zone. And that's kind of like I was talking about before about at first something new or scary to you will feel very foreign and very distressing. But then once you do it more, or you do it once you do it more, you are essentially growing your comfort zone. And to me, that is the true soft life. When you have flexibility, abundance, freedom, you can walk into a room and you can command the room. You can walk into a financial situation and you have the skills and the tools to get yourself, to benefit yourself in that situation if it is a financial challenge. Like I mentioned in our episode with Eden, like going with the flow is one thing, but you also want to build your skills so that you can go with the flow and you can go with the flow comfortably. So, the danger of only chasing comfort is that you keep your comfort zone very small. And like I said, this is not me saying that we need to live a life that's uncomfortable and we need to live a life that's full of stress. No, but there is reward in challenge and there is reward in growing your comfort zone. So that's another thing that I wanted to mention. And you're probably wondering, how do I get out of my comfort zone? And that's different for everyone. For some people, it's about taking baby steps to whatever you want to accomplish or wherever you want to be. For some people, like me, it's really about just diving in and picking myself up as I go. I've found myself, like, if there's something new that I want to get into or like something I want to achieve, I really just kind of have to dive in and go for it, whether that's research or whether that's just putting myself in that spot. Was it scary? Of course. Did I have any business being there? Of course not. But like I said, for different people, coming out of your comfort zone looks like different things. And like I said, for me, I'm the type of person where I just have to dive right in, into whatever it is that I need to do to get out of the comfort zone. Another way to kind of get out of your comfort zone and kind of just train your brain to embrace challenge is to just do little things that you find scary every day. And by little things, I mean little things. Like, I know some people who, if they work from home, sometimes being on camera can be a little bit challenging, if they're like meeting their colleagues online or meeting a client online. So starting on Monday, have your camera on in every meeting, or even have your camera on in one meeting. I don't know. For everyone it's different. But like, when you do little things that scare you or challenge you, you kind of rewire your brain to take on anything, really. But yeah. And like I said, and I'll say it again, not all comfort zones aren't all bad. I think that's important to mention, and it's important to mention that there's a difference between having a comfort zone and knowing the comfort zone and then staying in the comfort zone for too long. Staying in the comfort zone for too long is when it becomes bad. And again, I'll talk about myself, but for me, I know that discipline and routine and repetition are all things that I find peace and solace and comfort in. So for me, a lot of times coming out of my comfort zone is by chasing things that kind of are more spontaneous, whether that's socializing or going on trips. This year, I told you guys I'm staying inside this year. I did a little too much last year, but this year I'm staying inside. But you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. Knowing your comfort zone, growing your comfort zone are all things that we should strive to do. But yeah, in conclusion, I just want to say that a good and true soft life to me is challenging yourself and growing your comfort zone. So like I always say, it's definitely only successful when you know how to balance and you know how to do the dance and do the balancing act. But I'll leave off with a couple words. But in Jeremiah, I'm sure you guys know the scripture. If you're Christian and you don't know the scripture, like, come on. But in Jeremiah 29:11, it says, "For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." And I just wanted to leave off by saying that when your fuel is the knowledge that your prosperity is inevitable, you will do the work and you'll do what you need to do to get to where you need to be. And I think that to me kind of fuels my need to not stay in my comfort zone, if you know what I mean, and to not necessarily abandon chasing the soft life, but to not expect it without any work, if you know what I mean. So when speaking of true prosperity and things that aren't materialistic, I truly believe that it's inevitable for me. And that might sound, I don't know, a little audacious, but I think that I am the way I am and I do what I do, and I feel like I feel what I feel because eventually the life that God has for me, that is the true soft life, whatever he designs it to be, will come. And right now I will try not to complain, is what I'll say. But yeah, basically this is all to say that the soft life is coming, and sometimes that involves us working hard. It involves us getting out of our comfort zones. I know this is probably kind of all over the place, but y'all said you wanted to hear the introvert's yap, so that's what the introvert is doing. Okay? But I hope you guys enjoyed this short and sweet episode. Yeah, and like I mentioned already, don't forget to subscribe if you're on YouTube. Don't forget to follow if you're on Spotify and Apple Music. And also, if you're on Spotify and Apple Music, don't forget to rate us a 5. And also leave a comment on Spotify. Yeah. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. Again, like I said, this was all over the place. I am talking to myself, so I don't I know it can be almost like a echo chamber. So keep the conversation going. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.